Hello, welcome to Geeked Up Board Games. My name's Carl and today I've got a very special treat for you. I'm going to be teaching you how to play Marvel Splendor. So the rules of Marvel Splendor will be instantly familiar to anybody that's ever played a Splendor game in their life. Like Splendor, the goal is to collect different coloured gems and use them to purchase cards that will give you points for your victory. Now this time, the gems are themed after the Infinity Gems of the Marvel Universe. And I'm guessing that we're living in the TVA because the Infinity Gems are available in an abundance and are not very valuable on their own. Okay, so the rules are very simple. On each turn, a player will take one action and only one action. Now that action could be to collect some gems. So you would choose 3 of the colours and take 1 gem off the top of those 3 colours. Or if you had a specific colour in mind, you could take 2 gems from the top of 1 of those colours if there was 4 or more of that gem available. If there was less than 4, you couldn't take that action. You could also, if you want, reserve one of the cards that you might be interested in. To do that, you take that card, place it face down on your pile, and grab yourself one of the shield tokens. You then replace that card with another card face up. Or, if you've collected enough gems and you can afford to buy a card, you may choose to just buy a card. In which case, you take that card, put it face up on your deck and put the gems back according to the cost of that card. Now there are certain rules. So in your hand, you're allowed to hold a maximum of 10 gems. But you'll notice the more expensive cards, like the level 3 cards, they cost more than 10 gems. So how do you acquire those? Well, you'll notice each card has a coloured gem pictured on it. So when you buy that card, that becomes a permanent gem in your collection. You don't have to collect it because you've got one there. So it could be, as the game progresses, that you get greater and greater buying power. You may even be able to buy some cards without collecting any gems because you have the coloured gems on the cards of your choice. That's where the location tiles would come in, because after each turn, if you've bought a card, you can then look to see if you meet the required conditions for the location tiles. So in this one, for instance, if you had 4 cards with red gems on them and 4 cards with purple gems on them, you could claim that tile for 3 points. So you'll notice as you're playing the game that sometimes the cards can get a little more complicated. For instance, the top tier cards, the level 3 cards, will have 2 gems pictured on them. So when you buy one of those cards, you not only gain access to the coloured gem it represents, but you'll also get to collect 1 of the green Infinity Gems. You only collect 1 of those throughout the entire game. Now that gem is worthless when it comes to purchasing power. You'll never be able to use that gem throughout the game, and it will count towards your hand of 10 gems. So now you'll have a purchasing power of 9 gems on top of whatever card you've got. But it is important to have one of those gems for the victory conditions of the game. You'll also notice that some of the cards will have these little A symbols. Now the A symbols will represent Avengers points. You'll be able to recruit the Avengers to help you in your quest. So you simply, when you buy the card, add up the total number of Avengers points you currently have. If you have 3, you may be able to claim the Avengers tile for 3 points. Now, like the longest road in Catan, that tile can be won by another player if they then get more Avengers tiles than you get. So keep that in mind when you're planning your strategy throughout the game. Gameplay continues until one player has 16 points. But that player also needs to make sure that they have in their hand a full set of cards representing each of the 5 Infinity Gems and that they have their green Infinity Gem. Once that happens, the player has the victory conditions to take this tile.
I finally rest and watch the sunrise on a grateful universe.
But gameplay will continue until the end of the round, so each player will have the same number of turns. That means it's possible that more than one player will gain the victory conditions at the end of the game. So when that happens, there's a few things you need to do to declare the winner. First of all, add up their total points. It's possible that one player will have more than 16 points, in which case that player will be the winner. But if both players are on an equal number of points, well then look for the Avengers tile. Whichever player holds the Avengers tile, that player will be the winner. And if none of those players are holding the Avengers tile, well then add up the number of cards that they have purchased to get to those 16 points. The player with the least number of cards will then be declared the winner. And if by some miracle everybody is still on equal footing at this stage, well then you call it a draw and tell them not to complain. Simple. So that's the rules of the game, but how does it play? Well, I personally would say it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy that goes into determining which cards you want to aim for, whether to go for low value cards or try to buy some mid-level cards and gain points early. There also is a lot of strategy in determining whether you want to reserve the cards you're aiming for or keep collecting gems, because obviously reserving a card will get you 1 gem and it will take longer for you to get to the 16 points required. Another player in the meantime could get to 16 points and win the game. But if you don't reserve the card, well, another player could determine which card you need to win, or even which card you just want to buy, and they could reserve it themselves or even buy it outright, blocking you from that avenue of victory. So there's a lot of strategy and a lot of backstabbing that goes into the game, which makes it a fun experience for a competitive player like me. I also really like the theme. A lot of people aren't too keen on the idea of Marvel with the Splendor, but I think it fits. I've seen Loki, so I understand the TVA. I understand why the Infinity Gems might be available in such abundance. But I also just really enjoy the experience of trying to build up my Infinity Gauntlet, to try and power it up, gaining the support of the Avengers, seeing the artwork on the cards, in order to become an Ultron Prime level Thanos and take over the universe. It's just more fun for a geek like me. And that's the game. I thoroughly recommend it. I'll give it a 5 out of 5.